Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host with the biggest nose, JZ Courtside, coming at y'all today on November 10th. This month has been flying by for me. I don't know about you guys. What an incredible basketball season we have ahead of us. I swear on everything, I didn't expect this season to pick up so quickly, and yet it has. You guys saw the thumbnail and title, so you obviously know, as usual, we're going to start our week off right. Hope you guys all had a fun and safe weekend. We're going to be doing the winners and losers of the NBA weekend. Now, I do want to say something, somewhat of an announcement for all of my YouTube watchers and then my podcast listeners. First of all, obviously, podcast listeners, be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. YouTube, be sure to drop a like and sub. It helps more than you guys could possibly understand. I don't think I'm going to be live streaming these horizontally on YouTube for the time being, just for now. I think while the channel's growing, I need to upload these podcasts as videos rather than live streams. So I will still be live streaming them, but they will be vertical live streams. So like they'll pop up in the YouTube shorts purely for engagement and for them to just pop up in general more, because the horizontal streams don't really get pushed on the YouTube algorithm. You guys don't care about all this, so let me not bore y'all, but we will still be streaming these vertically on YouTube, vertically on TikTok, and then horizontally on Twitch, Kick, Twitter, and Playback. So if you guys do want the horizontal streams, be sure to follow the Twitch stream. It's JZ Uncut. All the links that you'll need will be down below, whether you're a podcast listener on Spotify and Apple and you want to tune in live, or you're a YouTube viewer that want an actual horizontal versus a vertical stream. So this one is not live. I had some tummy issues this morning, so it was not live, but we will be live Tuesday. So tomorrow through Thursday, and then Friday, I got to take my fiance to the airport. So now that we got all that nonsense out of the way, how about we start with the winners of the weekend, and then we'll move on into the losers. That's all I have for this podcast, so it's not going to be that long, depending how much of a tangent I go on for some of these topics, which some of them are necessary to go on a bit of a tangent. But let's start in the East with my personal winner of the weekend, the Detroit Pistons, on a 6-game winning streak. Not just that, but this is their best start. They're 8-2 right now. This is their best start to an NBA season since 2005. Back when the starting lineup was Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Tayshaun Prince, Rasheed Wallace, and Ben Wallace. Now, this has been unbelievable. As you guys know, the Pistons had an extremely difficult start to the season. In fact, it was the hardest start for any NBA team this season. It was in Chicago, 2 days later in Houston, 2 days later back in Detroit for the first time, against Boston, against Cleveland, against Orlando, and then in Mexico against Dallas, and then Memphis, and then after the Memphis game, because Memphis was projected to be better than they were, it has been an easy stretch for the Pistons, which has been Utah, in Detroit against the Jazz, and then in Brooklyn, then in Philly, and then a back-to-back against Washington tonight. So they have 3 games in 4 nights right now. So even though they're up against somewhat bad teams, 3 games in 4 nights is difficult for any NBA team. And then it's against the Bulls. So the Detroit Pistons right now, what is the key to their success? Obviously, I don't really need to talk about the Brooklyn game too much, although Cade Cunningham did have back-to-back 19-point fourth quarters. That was just utter domination from the Pistons. The Nets were hanging in there for the first half, and then in the third quarter, the Pistons just put them away. 30 points and 11 rebounds for Jalen Duren. And then Cade Cunningham, 34 points and 10 assists. This has been unbelievable. Unbelievable. And just so you guys know how crazy this run has been for Jalen Duren, who looks to be the front runner for most improved and also an all-star at this point, if he continues at this trajectory. Jalen Duren last season, in his 80 games he played last year, he had 4 20-point, 10-rebound games. 4 20-point, 10 rebound games. I believe this year he already has 6 out of the 10 games they've played. 6, 20, and 10 games. Mind you, a couple of them have been 30 and 10. A couple of them have been, one of them was a 20 and 20 game. 20 points, 20 rebounds. So he's already crushed all of his expectations from that he had going into the season. If he continues at this pace, a max contract is waiting for him. Last night in Philadelphia is the game that I sort of want to highlight. Obviously, the Pistons went 2-0. They're on a 6-game winning streak, hopefully soon to be 7 tonight, against Washington, who are on an 8-game slide. Playing well, but yeah, 8-game slide. This game last night, it was foul after foul after foul for everybody on the Detroit Pistons. Now, people said, oh, the 76ers were missing Joel Embiid. They were missing Paul George. Well, Paul George hasn't played yet. In my opinion, the Sixers are better without Joel Embiid at this current state. At this current state, I think they are better than Joel Embiid because he's not where he needs to be yet. The Pistons, in fact, I believe, were more shorthanded than the 76ers. They're missing Jaden Ivey still. He'll be reevaluated this week, I believe, for his return. Tobias Harris still missing. Isaiah Stewart missing. And then Marcus Sasser missing for at least another month. So the Pistons are missing 2 starters, basically 3 starters, because Stu should be able to start at this point. But Tobias Harris always has a slow start to the season, and then he starts picking it up about 10, 15 games into the year. They both have tweaked ankles. And then they're missing Jaden Ivey, obviously, who will be returning soon. Who they need. At this point, the Pistons need. We'll be talking about the goods and bads. Don't worry, folks. I'm not biased. Duncan Robinson fouled out at the start of the 4th quarter, getting called for everything. Duncan had a great game with 17 points, right? He hit 4 threes. Asar Thompson, nice and steady game. 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. That seems to be his baseline. Don't forget 3 steals. Ron Holland got the start tonight. His first meaningful start in his NBA career. Did not play well whatsoever. He looked he looked aggressive, but he didn't look good aggressive. He had 9 points, and he shot 3 for 15. But his defense, great. Jalen Duren, 21 points, 16 rebounds, 8 for 11 from the field. And then Cade Cunningham with 2 points in the first half. Arguably the worst I've ever seen Cade Cunningham look in a half of basketball I've ever seen in my entire life. He had 2 points in the first half. 2 points. He had 24 in the second half. He finished with 26 points, 4 rebounds, 11 assists, 1 steal, 9 for 20 from the field. And then off the bench, I want to give credit where credit is due. Karis LeVert, I haven't been the biggest fan of you since you came to Detroit, but it looks like you're starting to pick things up. Without Karis LeVert, I don't know where we would not have won this last night without Karis LeVert. He had 14 points, and I think all of which came in the first half. He was 4 for 5 from deep. Shouldn't have had a missed 3, but he took one at the end of the first half. Paul Reed, very good in his minutes, 4 points, 5 rebounds. He had to play longer because we are missing Stu and Tobias. Bobby Klintman, I'm sorry. I think I'm fully out on you. 2nd round pick from last year. I think I'm fully out. And then Javonte Green, I think the MVP of the bench this year so far. He had 6 points, 2 for 5 from the field. Not great. He hit a 3. But where Javonte Green stands is his defense. And there's a reason why Coach JB trusted him for the very last possession of the game to put him in there purely for defensive reasons. This guy, Javonte Green's an animal on defense. Straight up. He is like a Ron and a Sar hybrid. He's like almost athletic as Ron, but like he goes for the passing lanes all the time, like an Asar. So I think it's very interesting. Now, again, the Pistons were missing Tobias, Isaiah Stewart, Jaden Ivey, and Marcus Sasser. So we had a lot. We had to rely on the bench a lot. Cade Cunningham had a monster poster on Andre Drummond, former Piston All-Star. And then he also had the game-winning step back midi. The thing about Cade is I think the New York Knicks really helped his progression. And I'm talking last playoffs. The way that the Knicks played Cade and they were blitzing him and hard hedging every time he got a screen, every time he was at the perimeter, they would throw a double, they would throw a triple. And Cade didn't really know what to do in the playoffs last year. He had to adjust on the fly. Well, every team in the NBA saw that work for New York in the playoffs against us last year. So now every team we play against is doing that same thing to Cade. And it's starting to work less and less and less. The issue at hand here is teams would not be able to do this to Cade if he had his running mate in Jaden Ivey. Teams were not able to just leave Asar Thompson and Ron Holland and just straight up double and triple Cade at the perimeter and mid-range when Jaden Ivey is on the court. And I think Jaden Ivey is a necessity for this team. We'll see if he plays well next to Cade. If it's not Jaden Ivey, then it's going to be somebody else in free agency or in the trade market. Jaden Ivey, when he returns, will have a few months to prove to the Pistons front office whether or not he's part of this young core of Cade, Asar, Duran, Ron, Stu. And I hope, for our sake, that Jaden Ivey does come back and does look serviceable. Not just serviceable, but look like that running mate next to Cade Cunningham. Because right now, Cade is being forced to do almost all the primary ball handling. They are using him off the ball a bit more each and every game because at some point, Cade's legs are going to give out and get tired because he's having to run the offense as much as he is. He needs that guy next to him. That's a threat from the threat from the perimeter where Jaden Ivey shot 42%, 43% last year. And I think him being a great ball handler will prove very valuable to the Detroit Pistons. Again, they're on a 6-game winning streak. Last couple games easier than the others. But the Pistons right now, when you look at them on paper, their statistics don't really jump at you. They're 9th in the league in rebound, 20th in assists. Here's where they really stand tall. They're 6th in steals and 2nd in blocks. They've dropped a bit without Isaiah Stewart. Just one game without Stu, or 1.5 games without Stu, and they dropped. Middle of the pack at field goals made and attempted, and then they're at the bottom of the league in 3-pointers made and 3-pointers attempted. They're shooting 30 threes a game, and they're only making 10.5. Right? They're 28th in the league at 3-pointers made. That's not good whatsoever. The reason why they're able to survive is because they lead the league in points in the paint as well as rebounding and free throws. So that's the only reason that the Pistons are truly winning these games. They're just outdoing their opponents in the paint. Now, of course, you know the Pistons are committing the most fouls in the NBA right now, averaging 25 fouls a game. The most by far as well. The refs do not like Detroit. Detroit does not like the refs. Yeah, I got the Pistons as my number one winner of the weekend, and I don't think you can truly dispute that either. They have a big week ahead of them, and hopefully the Pistons can keep it going and put another win on the board. Up next. Now, mind you, there weren't that many winners of the weekend, but up next, I have somebody that has been winning at a decent stretch this season, and it's the Denver Nuggets, finally looking like they're figuring things out. Now, mind you, last night against the Pacers, they sat Aaron Gordon. They also sat Jamal Murray. So this is a team without their two top 3 players, right? And lo and behold, Cam Johnson had a pretty efficient game, 12 points, 5 for 11. Still is not hitting that 3. That trade is not looking great yet. That trade is not looking good yet. I think it will, though. Peyton Watson subbing in. Defense looking incredible as always. His offense looks to be rounding out a little bit more. 16 points, 1 assist, 3 steals, 7 rebounds. And then, as you guys know, Nikola Jokic, 32 points, 14 rebounds, 14 assists, 10 for 14 from the field. I mean, this guy is just unbelievable. He's just unbelievable. He is averaging a 30-point triple-double again. And I don't think many people are talking about this. I don't see people tweeting about it. I don't see people making shorts about it. I don't see anybody discussing the Denver Nuggets whatsoever. Off the bench, Tim Hardaway, like I called it, is looking like prime Klay Thompson. It's so funny to me how some players thrive with the gravity of Nikola Jokic. I mean, you just can't trust the free agents off this team because I'll tell you what, Tim Hardaway was not doing that for the Detroit Pistons whatsoever. He had a couple great games, but most of them stinkers. Because as great as Cade is, he didn't have the gravity. Well, I guess he does have the gravity, but the issue is when you're the one shooter on the court, people are not going to leave you open. They're going to stay on you in the perimeter, just like what's happening right now for the Pistons with Duncan Robinson. When you have one shooter on the court, guess what? That one shooter is not going to be left open. So seeing Tim Hardaway thrive over here is something I predicted. I said it. I said Tim Hardaway is going to look he's going to look incredible. And he's looking incredible so far. 17 points, and that's not the first time I've seen that. 20 plus 24, the team high for being on the court. Bruce Brown is still being a very valuable teammate to this Denver Nuggets squad, and I love to see it. Julian Strawther is advancing, 12 points, plus 20. Great. Jonas Valanciunas got to rest Nikola Jokic for 14 minutes. Isn't that what we wanted, y'all? Again, another valuable, great pickup for the Denver Nuggets. Now, this was a game where the Nuggets were actually winning with Nikola Jokic on the bench. That never happens. That never happens. They were plus 13 when Nikola Jokic sat out, and they won. They won handsomely by 17 points against the Indiana Pacers, who were basically sitting out everybody. Yeah, it's not looking great for the Pacers, but we're talking about winners of the weekend. All right, not losers. I'm also not talking about the Pacers as far as being a loser of the weekend, because they've been losing all season long, so I can't just restrict that to the weekend. Cam Boozer, baby. Cam Boozer. Let's go for Cam Boozer. The Denver Nuggets are looking incredible. They've won 7 of their last 8 games. And I personally think the way that this team is moving looks like a championship level team. They look like the one sole team that can compete against OKC in the West. Like actually compete, and not just compete, but beat. They took them to 7 last year, y'all. They were an injury away from taking out OKC. Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. were both hurt. I think that this team, once Cam Johnson starts learning the real flow of this offense, is going to thrive. Because right now it's just shot making. That's all it is. At least he's swinging the ball. 4 assists. He's averaging 3 assists for this team. That's not bad whatsoever. Another thing I wanted to mention is I posted a TikTok/short talking about the Detroit Pistons and how this is their best start since, at that point it was 07, but now it's their best start since 05. And some dude in the comments, I think it got like 40,000 views on TikTok. Some dude in the comments said, who cares? Y'all ain't competing. Y'all might make the finals, but you ain't beating the Thunder. And I was like, wow, that's a great I'm like, that's a great compliment. And he said, who cares? But you might make the finals, sort of contradicting. Because I was like, if you make the finals, then obviously people are going to care. And then not just that, I looked at his profile picture and his bio, and it's #1 Wolves fan. So I responded to him very nicely. I said, hey, thanks for saying that we're going to make the playoffs, or thanks for saying that we're going to make the finals. But need I remind y'all, you couldn't compete with the Thunder either. You guys lost 4-1 in a gentleman's sweep. So, yeah, just I thought that was pretty funny. TikTok comments never get old. Anyways, the Denver Nuggets, each game, I just look at this team and I think if they truly wanted, they could never lose. Genuinely. I mean, when you have a player of Nikola Jokic, it's just it's inevitable. They're scoring the most points in the league right now at 125 points per game. They're getting the most rebounds, fourth most rebounds. They're first in assists, averaging 31 assists. They're first in field goals made. They're fourth in field goal percentage. They're second in free throw percentage. Third in true shooting. There's only one team that I see that has more green on their stat lines than the Denver Nuggets. And I know what you guys are thinking. Boring. The Oklahoma City Thunder is looking dominant as ever with a 10-1 start. The only team that has a better record than the Detroit Pistons. 5th in points scored. 3rd in rebounding. 2nd in steals. 8th in blocks. 4th in field goals made. 4th in field goals attempted. 8th in three-pointers attempted. 10th in free throws made. 1st in free throw percentage. 1st in defensive rebounds. 2nd in turnovers, which is not great. The Oklahoma City Thunder are 10-1. They put away the Kings and they put away the Grizzlies over the weekend. And hey, there's not much I can say about this team, so we won't linger too long. What I will say on the other side is Ja Morant. Oh my God, you are horrendous. 3 for 18, 11 points. I'm sorry. What I will say is the Thunder got back Chet Holmgren last night, and he went for 21 points, 8 for 14 shooting. And I think I like it when Chet Holmgren sits out once in a while. think it's good for team morale. Now, hear me out. I'm not saying the Thunder are better without Chet Holmgren by any means. I'm not saying that. But what I do like is when Chet Holmgren sits out, Isaiah Hartenstein realizes, wait, I'm a hooper. And he starts balling out and gaining the confidence without Chet Holmgren, so that when Chet Holmgren returns, he can play even better. I mean, when Chet's only playing 20 minutes in a game and Isaiah Hartenstein's playing 31, he's dropping 33 points and 19 rebounds. In the next game, 18 points and 13 rebounds. I mean, Isaiah Hartenstein's a beast, right? And him and Chet Holmgren very well could be the best front court in the NBA. If they really wanted to, they could. Not just that. They're still doing this without J-Dub. They're doing this without Nikola Topic. Get better. They're doing this without Aaron Wiggins now. They're doing it without, did I say Lou Dort and Kenrich Williams? I think I said Lou Dort. Most importantly, J-Dub. And yet, Shea's averaging 32, 33 points per game, right? Getting 6 assists, 7 rebounds. And he's just dropping 30 every night like it's nothing. Like it's actually nothing. Now, he did have 11 free throws last night. And that's a lot. But the night before, he had 30 and only had 4 free throws. So when I tell you that Shea doesn't need these free throws, it just boosts his stats even more. He doesn't need them. He's just that good at drawing them. Plain and simple. You can't guard him, so just follow me. That's it. What I will say on this topic of the Oklahoma City Thunder, I don't know how the hell they keep doing this, man. AJ Mitchell, you're a beast. I am a huge fan of AJ Mitchell. He sort of reminds me, like, this might sound crazy. This might be a wild pull as well. AJ Mitchell sort of reminds me of Eric Maynor for the Oklahoma City Thunder way back when. Way back when. He was the backup to Russell Westbrook, I think prior to Derek Fisher getting there. And then, yeah, he was out of the league pretty quickly. But Eric Maynor was super aggressive like AJ Mitchell is at his young age. And I think AJ Mitchell is going to have a longer and better career than Eric Maynor. I mean, what he's doing right now in his second year has just been nothing short of spectacular. And I think Jada being out has just only helped this team grow even stronger because now they've realized a lot. Oh my God, Isaiah Joe is very good, right? We have another Jalen Williams off the bench that is good. Not last night, but he's good, right? They have Kenrich Williams. They have Lou Dort. They have Aaron Wiggins. They have J-Dub. They have AJ Mitchell. They have Cason Wallace. This team is so unbelievably deep, and that's what it takes to win NBA championships now. That's what it takes. That is what it takes, y'all. Doesn't matter about star power. Doesn't matter how top heavy you are anymore. That is not modern day NBA. It's about doing it by committee. And there are a couple teams in this NBA league right now that are very deep. The Thunder being one, the Pistons being another, the Bulls, hell, they're deep. Even though they're sliding a little bit, they're deep. The Nuggets, obviously. The Warriors, there's the Lakers. Like, there are some deep teams out here. And that's what it takes. Yeah, man, the Thunder are just, they're too good. They're too good. And I think, like I said, Jada being out has only helped this team realize what more they have. And they have a lot more. They have a lot more. Obviously, they're favorites to win the NBA title this year. They're on pace. I think the only thing standing in their way is themselves, which I know that sounds sort of corny, but the West is stacked. I think anything could happen. Anything could happen in the playoffs. Obviously, you can't guard this team, so you just got to hope and pray that they just have an off shooting night, I think. Which, speaking of an off shooting night, I want to move on to the losers of the weekend, if y'all don't mind. Losers of the weekend, I think it was easier to find. So I apologize if I pick your team in advance. And if you are tanking this year, I apologize for not mentioning your team. You're just doing too much losing for me to mention. And I'd like to start off with a team that I said is going to start sliding. I'm very, very good at judging teams. And if you've been watching and listening for a bit now, you understand everything I'm saying because I call it before it happens. The Chicago Bulls coming down to earth, dropping both of their weekend games. And you're going to say, but Jay-Z, they were up against Cleveland and the Bucks. Yeah, I know. And guess what? They're up against the Spurs today. And then they're up against the Pistons on Wednesday. And then they get a break with the Jazz. But then they're against Denver and Portland. So when I say I fully expect the Bulls to come down to earth, it was because of, one, their schedule, and two, the way that they were winning. So we already went over their schedule. Now I want to talk about the way they were winning. They were winning games by, hey guys, you can score as many points as you want in the paint against us. Mooch our paint points. Vucevic, don't even worry about jumping in the post. Don't worry about it. Let him get the 2. We'll get a 3 on the other side. Eventually, the math will math and we'll be up. That's how they've been playing. Well, they've been very fortunate that math has been on their side for the start of the season. Because mind you, the Chicago Bulls now are 6-3. Philadelphia 6-4. So the 2 top teams, Philadelphia is already in the play-in, who the Pistons beat last night. Now the Bucks could lose tonight and fall in the play-in. Just like that. It's early in the season. But the play-in is looking like the play-in would look. Celtics at 10, Hawks at 9, Raptors at 8. It's all teams belong in there, 76ers. But about the Chicago Bulls, they were winning games because, yes, that math was mathing for most of that 5-game winning streak. The unfortunate part about it is it wasn't real. That win streak was not real. Yes, they came back in some games. Yes, they almost choked against the Pistons and a couple other teams in that streak. But their opponents were shooting 21% from 3 in that win streak. When they were 5-0, they were shooting 21%. That is the worst. I looked it up. This is the worst stretch of 3-point shooting games for at least 5 games since 1987, when the Portland Trailblazers had that stretch. 80s. In the 1980s. That was the last team to have gone up against 5 teams to shoot less than 23% from deep. So when I tell you they were shooting like the 80s against the Chicago Bulls for those 5 games, I mean that. And that has slowly come back to earth a little bit. They're in the middle of the pack of opponent 3-point percentage at 35% being shot against them. Now, that's not bad. That's 11th in the league. That's still top 11. That's still the upper half. But do you see that difference? They were shooting 21% against them and they were 5-0. Now, all of a sudden, that number is almost at league average right now. It's at 35.5, 36%, I believe, is league average. Sorry, I just think I smacked my mic. And of those have formed into losses. Not just that, they're versing teams that are actually like somewhat competent. Now, mind you, I say competent. I forgot one detail I wanted to mention about the Pistons about the couple games that they had easy after their hardest stretch of the NBA season this year. They are beating teams they should be beating. They weren't doing that last year. They haven't done that since I've been a fan in the last 17 years. And the Chicago Bulls right now are up against teams that they were projected not to beat. So when you see them losing now, you're like, scheduled loss. Scheduled loss. Well, when does that not become a scheduled loss? Because some of these teams, once you're that good, eventually these scheduled losses should be wins. And right now, yes, in that 5-game winning streak, they were winning. But now they're slowly coming back to earth. And that's not to discredit Josh Giddey and how incredible he's been. That's not to discredit Nikola Vucevic and how good he's been. Mind you, they should trade him, but they're not going to because the Bulls want to remain competitive. Right now, Nikola Vucevic's trade value is through the frickin' roof. It's never going to be as high as it is right now. I mean that. Nikola Vucevic is 35 years old. He's averaging 18 points, 10.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, a steal, and half a block a game. Less than half a block a game. Shooting 47% from 3. But you know the Bulls won't trade him. And I know Bulls fans are saying, why would we trade him? What are you going to do? Realistically, what is this team going to do in the playoffs? Like, as a Pistons fan, I have come to realize how many levels there are to being a wasted season. Now, no season is wasted if you had fun, if you had learning experiences from it. What are we going to learn this season? Because Vucci Baby is winning a lot of these games for you guys single-handedly. Not single-handedly, but he's being a crucial part in winning these games. Is this team enough to win it all this year? Probably not. Is this team enough to win a playoff series? If that's what we're going for, then hold on to him. But if you want more for the future with a Josh Giddey, with a Montes Buzelis, then maybe it's time to start actually shopping him and seeing what the market, what you get out of the market. Plain and simple, man. I really do believe that the Chicago Bulls are fun, and I love watching them. Seriously, like, this is the most fun I've had watching the Chicago Bulls since Derrick Rose. I mean that. And if they want to keep it up, if they want to keep that excitement, then go for it. Who am I here to say to blow it up as soon as you have some success? I'm not going to do that. But I just want to say this before anybody else. If they slide into the play-in, am I allowed to say I told you so? Am I allowed? Because Vucci's value is not going to be where it was. Let's move on to our next loser of the weekend. And that's the Sacramento Kings. You might be wondering, oh, they lost both of their games over the weekend? Yeah, they did. They lost against the Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that's okay. Except they gave up 132 points to the Thunder, and they only scored 101. And then they gave up 144 points against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm just going to read you a couple stats. They're 15th in points scored per game. They're 29th in rebounding. Remember, there's 30 teams in the NBA, so that's second to last. 13th in steals, 26th in blocks, 25th in three-pointers made, 29th in three-pointers attempted, 22nd in free throws, 28th in offensive rebounds, 22nd in defensive rebounds. Now, you look at this roster and you think, wow, that's a loaded team. They're loaded. The unfortunate part about this team is, well, they're the Sacramento Kings, and they are just what are they doing? You know, I saw last night there was a clip, two clips that I want to talk about for this Sacramento Kings team. The crowd was chanting, "We want Keon Ellis. Keon Ellis, boo doo 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 doo. Keon Ellis, boo doo doo doo." You're cheering for a role player to come onto the court. Not just that. I saw the owner and the front office manager sitting courtside. What's his name? Vivek? And they looked pissed courtside. Does that surprise anybody? Here's the thing. The Kings owner, I've said it 100 times, the Kings owner does not care about winning these NBA games whatsoever. They don't care. They want to fill their pockets up. And right now, all he wanted was like a team that, 4-4, maybe a 5-5. Right now they're 3-7, so they've played 10 games. They want a 5-5. Competitive enough, but not ass enough. Right now they're 3-7. And they look ass. Very, very ass. They have no direction. I've said this before the year. They have no direction whatsoever. The way they're playing Sabonis is disgusting. They should be charged, fined for the way they're playing Sabonis. They're putting him in the low freaking block. Sabonis is not a low block player. Give it to him on the perimeter. Play through him. He needs the ball. The issue is Levine needs the ball. The issue is Sabonis needs the ball. The issue is DeMar DeRozan needs the ball. The issue is Malik Monk needs the ball. The issue is Russell Westbrook needs the ball. The issue is Dennis Schroeder needs the ball. Those are all on-ball players. And they all need the ball. You know the issue here? There's only one ball on the court. And I've said this 100 times. I don't want to talk about the Kings anymore. I don't want to talk about them. Unless you guys are, I don't want to talk about them anymore. I've talked about them enough in the offseason and at the start of the season. They're horrible. I don't like the Sacramento Kings as a franchise. I don't like it. I don't like it. Their goal is to be average. I don't like it. On top of that, they were targeting Jonathan Kuminga. Another player who, you guessed it, needs the ball. The Sacramento Kings as a franchise are the losers, not just of the weekend, but I think of that light the beam season was legendary, and it's unfortunate to see where they're at. That's why I'm so upset. Just imagine if this was my team. I don't need to imagine it. We've been ass for 17 years. The Pistons have been. The Kings had that one good season, and they're trying to ride that high. That's it. Now, next, I'm already saying I told you. I'm already telling you I told you so. The Los Angeles Clippers. That's it. I told you. I freaking told y'all. I said that I'm going the under on the Clippers because as good as the roster is, it's the Clippers. They're going to get hurt throughout the year. They're going to sit out throughout the year. They're old. And as good as the roster is, I don't believe that they can do this on a nightly basis. Well, some stats for you. 27th in points per game, 26th in rebounding, 23rd in assists. Those three stats alone should tell you right there, something's not working. 24th in field goals made, 30th in field goals attempted. You see what I'm getting at? Now they're committing the least amount of fouls in the NBA. That's good. 24th in turnovers, 25th in defensive rebounding, 25th in offensive rebounding, 28th in free throws. This is a basketball team that is unsure of their identity. When James Harden sits, they look horrible. When James Harden plays, what James Harden are you getting? They have lost 4 games in a row. Now, mind you, against some decent teams. The Miami Heat, they lost by 1. OKC, they lost by 19. The Phoenix Suns, they lost by 13. That was that Jalen Green game. And then they versed the Phoenix Suns again without Jalen Green, but insert Dylan Brooks, and they lost by 11. Oh, man. This team, the Los Angeles Clippers, there must be a curse. There has to be. I can't keep talking about them. It makes me sad. I wouldn't wish this upon any fan base. I don't understand why they decided to get this old. I don't understand why. I'm sorry, guys. I have no words. They're the losers of the weekend. They've lost 4 in a row. Here's what I'm saying. Every time I have put any sort of belief in the Los Angeles Clippers, I have looked like a freaking fool. They played well in the playoffs last year. They did. They're a playoff performing team. And I can somewhat guarantee you, as long as their health lasts, they will make the playoffs and they will look like a very competent playoff team. My issue with them is every time I have some sliver of hope in this team, they disappoint me. I was a huge Blake Griffin fan. I was a huge Chris Paul fan. I was a huge DeAndre Jordan, Matt Barnes, JJ Redick. I was a huge fan of that team. And to see them fall short continuously over and over and over again due to injury, due to chemistry, due to choking, due to anything, it's depressing. And I don't like talking about depressing topics because it's depressing. So the Los Angeles Clippers, you are the losers of the weekend. 4 in a row. I really don't have much to say. It's like, look, now that I'm going to not pay attention to them or talk about them, watch. The next time we talk about the Los Angeles Clippers will be when they're 30-20. They've turned it around, right? They're a playoff team. But right now, they're 3-6. They've lost 4 in a row. They're ranked 12th in the Western Conference. They don't look good now. But watch. As soon as I look in that direction over there, all of a sudden, they're going to look like a competent basketball team again. It's whenever I'm looking at them through an hourglass, or is it magnifying glass? Whatever the term is. They play like ass. So let me just look away. Let me look in the opposite direction and see how that pans out. Hopefully it works out. Remember, 3-6. I can't wait to say I told you so. Can't wait. Guys, I told y'all today was going to be a little bit of a shorter podcast, and there it is. Winners and losers of the NBA weekend. Let me know who you guys think your winners and losers of the weekend were. Guys, be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review for my podcast listeners. YouTube watchers, drop a like, subscribe. It helps more than you could possibly understand. Couple things as well. Join the Discord server. I need more people to talk hoops with. Follow the Twitch stream, Jay-Z Uncut. All the links you'll need will be down below in the description. Follow the Twitter, Jay-Z Uncut. Again, Jay-Z Uncut. Uncut, like an uncut commentary. Not the other thing. All right, guys, that's all I got for y'all today. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. Remember, we do these live. We're not doing this one live today, but we do these live. 9 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. And I hope to catch y'all there tomorrow. I'll see you guys then. Again, I got nothing left to say except for thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. Leave 5-star ratings and reviews. Thank you for watching/listening. See y'all tomorrow morning. All right.